Well, hello dear viewers and welcome to Level Up Reviews. Today I review spiritual successor to Ultima Underworld games, Underworld Ascendant. Let's jam! Underworld Ascendant is one of those games that everybody else seems to hate. I don't really mind the game personally. All I can say is, well, it's pretty decent. I won't say it's a brilliant game or it's great, but I think all of the hate this game gets is, well, really undeserved. I mean, I don't really know what people expected from this game. I do understand that video gaming legends like Paul Neurus, Tim Stilmich, Warren Spector, and many more were working on this game, but in reality, situation was more complicated. By the year 2000, Looking Glass Studios' deals with Sony and Eidos Interactive broke down. Because of this, they faced financial troubles. On May 24, 2000, Paul Neurus had no other choice but to close the doors on legendary Looking Glass Studio. But Neurus was not content. He still had a lot of other projects he wanted to work on. So, in 2013, he opened a new studio, Otherside Entertainment. In 2016, Otherside Entertainment opened up a branch in Austin, Texas, with Warren Spector at its head. The main idea was that the company would revive old franchise, either with direct sequels or spiritual successors. Everything seemed to be falling in place when Neurus got somewhat of a permission from Electronic Arts to make Ultima Underworld game. He could use setting and characters, but not Ultima brand name. So Otherside Entertainment started a Kickstarter. They hoped to raise around 600,000. Luckily though, fans of Underworld games backed the project and managed to raise around 932,000. Game went through a lot of phases of development and redevelopment, with a lot of ideas changing, but main idea remained the same. Player was expected to solve the problems their own way and figure out how to advance in the game. But at the end of the day, as Paul Neurus said, we can't really give you Skyrim. So finally, Ultima Ascendant, the game which Paul Neurus tried to release for 2 decades, was released on November 15, 2018, published by 505 Games. The reception was terrible. The game came out with a lot of bugs, so low scores were thrown at the game by critiques from publications like IGN and GameSpot. I mean, double standards at its finest, right? So when big gaming studio like Bethesda releases a game riddled with bugs, which are expected to be fixed by unofficial patches made by fans, that's fine. But when small new developing company releases a game with tight budget, they will complain and completely bury the company? Not to mention, Otherside released a patch that addressed most of the problems on February 14 of 2019. It is always hard to make the game set in the dungeon or underworld setting look good, but Underworld Ascendant manages to pull it off well enough. Music is serviceable as well. David Gavett is a composer. One thing that really drags Underworld Ascendant down is that there are no NPCs in the game. Well, there are some, but it is a far cry from older Underworld games. I guess best NPCs are skulls hanging from the chains.
Old Bart over there says I'm paralyzed by indecision. I can't decide if he's right or not.
There are 3 factions in this game too: dwarves, dark elves, and shamblers, but really no point to them. You don't really meet them. It is a very odd choice, considering Underworld games were mainly built on inhabitants of Underworld and interactions with them. Ascendant, on the other hand, focuses more on the dungeon crawling aspects. And there is another problem here. Enemies here are not very challenging. Even on the hard difficulty setting, they can be avoided very easily. Not to mention, there are very few varieties of the enemies. Usually you just fight skeletons. Very rarely do you meet another type of enemy in the game. Best thing about the game is the skill tree. There are 3 options: fighter, magician, and stealth skills. You can stick with one or mix and match. Magic system uses the rune stones, just like the old games, although it's a bit different. You can even create new spells by mixing different runes and experimenting with them. Fighting is pretty straightforward. Normal blocking, evading, and striking stuff. Not much I can say here. Stealths can be very fun. The usual hiding, sneaking, backstabbing, usual goodies. As far as the story goes, you are playing as Avatar. You're summoned in Stygian Abyss by Kabirus's ghost to stop Typhon, father of the beasts, from breaking out and causing destruction. And here, to be honest with you, I'm very surprised why they used Typhon and not somebody like Slasher of Veils, for example. Although I cannot complain too much because I don't know how much restraints EA put on other side on using established characters from Ultima, but I have to say, if there was an established villain like Slasher of Veils, the game would be much better. After finding your way to Markol, the main fort, Haprokala will give you quests here. Most of the game consists of finding keys to go down to the lower levels. There are other missions like freeing captives, finding memory orbs, and destroying eidolons, which are fine, I guess. It's also cool that there is a teleporter in Haprokala's camp, which will take you back to Markol, where you can shop and assign the skill points. Silver sapling tree also returns, and as usual you can plant it. If you will die, the game will restart from the point you planted the seed in. To be honest with you, I found much more use of Silver Sapling Tree in this game than other Underworld games. Another thing that is kinda disappointing is the weapon selection. Well, equipment selection in general. You don't really get any cool items in the game. Although, I guess there are some cool stuff like kunais, it's still very limited. As far as the endgame goes, and spoiler warning here, Typhon revives our old friend Tybal as a leech to stop you from defeating him, but at the end you still manage to defeat Typhon by using Tybal's core. For some reason you also have to seal Kabirus away, because apparently he is as dangerous as Typhon. Well, whatever. And somehow you manage to reunite all 3 of the races in Abyss as well. Honestly, the story is nothing special, and it feels like it has some parts cut out, so I can't really praise it too much. Underworld Ascendant is a pretty decent game. I would not say to go out of your way to play the game, but at the same time, I don't think it deserves all the hate it gets. This game pretty much ends Avatar's story for now. It was a pleasure replaying Ultima games, and I hope you had as much fun as I did, my dear viewers. But Ultima was not the only RPG that paved the way for modern games. In fact, it had a rival, but what wizardry could rival such a great game? And shout out to my brand new subscriber, Cox TV. If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to leave a comment. Thank you very much.